I mean, the one when ZAC EFRON wore it was really cool because he wore it on that series, and I actually got to speak to his brother because he really wanted to wear LSKD. And I was like, I'm putting signage up, and someone said, just be careful, you'll get broken into. And I was like, no, it's fine.
Oh, no.
I put the branding up. We got broken into 3 times.
Oh, no.
They peeled the door open. They drove through the bollards. So these bollards just didn't do anything. And and they stole 300 units, I'm pretty sure, of this one jumper that was going to this retailer. And it was a huge order. And, 300 units, it's a big order for us then. And so we didn't get paid. They sold 300 of the 600 unit order, and then they were selling them for $15 at the train station.
We haven't had someone in business on the show for a while, have we, D?
And probably not to this extent.
Not to this extent,
This is exciting.
this level. We're very, very excited to welcome Jason Daniel to the dos&d show. Welcome, mate.
Oh, thank you. No pressure. Wow.
There's never pressure on here, mate. We are so stoked. Thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to hear the LSKD story. But we were telling you off air, we don't typically go take us back to the start and we start from there. So we're going to reverse engineer this. Tell us about what you're doing currently.
Oh, wow.
What's the most exciting projects at the moment for LSKD and yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm like, I never get asked that from the start. I mean, wow. I would probably say retail and what we're doing with retail. And we open our 11th store in 2 weeks' time on Pack Fair on the Gold Coast. Yes. We're on the Gold Coast right now. So, something I'm working on a lot right now is what we're doing with retail. And it's exciting. I mean, product. I'm obsessed with product and how we can improve our fit, fabric, and function for the community. But so there are probably some really big focuses. There's so much that happens in a day at LSKD and in my life. And I probably something else is fitness. I mean, I'm obsessed with fitness and my family. My wife's pregnant with our 3rd on the way, which is due in a few months. So I'm very excited about that.
Congratulations. That's very exciting.
Thank you. So, yeah, she's a super mom, and without her, we wouldn't be here. So, yeah, no, Ali's a legend. So, yeah, there's lots of little things on the go.
What's the fitness regime at the moment? What's that look like?
It's an interesting one because last year I did my 3rd marathon and I had a goal to go sub 3 hours at the Gold Coast Marathon, which I was stoked to achieve, which was cool. And it was actually a lot of training to prepare for it. And I actually got quite sick throughout it with the training and career and family. And so this year I've kind of mixed it up a little bit. So I still train early in the mornings, but I'm still running and cycling, but I'm actually doing Pilates, that's doing a CrossFit box, and just mix it up. So I think I may be doing a functional fitness comp turf games later in the year.
What's that? I've never heard of that.
Is
it like a CrossFit style, but it's just function different?
Yeah, it's kind of like pretty much. But you don't do some of the movements that are in CrossFit with muscle ups and that. So it's a little bit easier on the body for someone like myself. It's an everyday athlete, and I wish I could do that, but I can't. So they have events all over the world. I mean, in the team that creates it, they've done a phenomenal job, Andy and his team. But it started in the UK, and they get about 4,500 athletes competing at a turf games there. And over here, they're getting around 2,000 to 2,500 athletes. Yeah, wow. And there's one on the Gold Coast in September. So probably the craziest movement from a CrossFit perspective, I think, is around it would be toes to bar, and you do some lifts. So it's exciting, and it's teams of 6, so 3 females, 3 males. And I've got a team from the office, so there's a bunch of crew in the office.
The morale must be up for sure.
Yeah. So I somehow wrangled a team last minute because there's already that many teams formed, and I was and we got a team together. So we got a cool team, and it means we can train at the office together as well. Wow. So we can kind of fit it in and train and do a session up in the gym upstairs. So yeah, it's super fun.
We're going to hear the LSKD story, and we're going to hear a bit about your background as we go, but. Now, I mean, LSKD is such a huge now global brand. How is you as a founder, work-life balance? You just talked to us a little bit about your fitness and your passion there, but how do you actually go about work-life balance now with a family? What does your typical day-to-day look like?
It's a great question. I mean, it's definitely not easy. I mean, it's easy to say you do this and this and this, but I mean, when you have kids, I think it really humbles you and gives you a really new perspective. And and it's amazing. It's the best thing ever. A typical day for me, I suppose, I do set my alarm at 4 a.m. and I get up. I'll make a coffee, which is 100% one of the greatest things in the morning.
Totally agree.
Yep. So I make coffee, and I do have an ice bath. So I do ice bath in the morning, religiously every morning. And I normally will train around 5 or 5:30 in the morning. Okay. This morning I got to run in at 5:30, and I actually went straight to the office. But normally I would drop my daughter to daycare 3 days a week, and then get to the office, and the day starts, normally about 8 o'clock. Normally previous to that, if I'm up really early at that time and I've got 30, 40 minutes to spare between training, I'll work and I'll plan my day and what I've got to do and, just do some catch up. And then a normal day, I mean, it's, I kind of work across a lot of different departments within my role. As the CEO, I do spend a lot of time with the product team and the marketing team, and that's a really big focus of mine and a huge passion of mine. So, during the day, it's obviously lots of different meetings, and with retail, trying to visit retail stores, trying to meet as many people within the team. I mean, to go from, it's quite mind-blowing to go from, it was only 2019, we had a team of 12 and now the team has grown.
Wow.
Yeah, so it wasn't that long ago we had a team of 12 and we were on the journey trying to find our why in, I suppose, 2017, 2018. But to have, close to 250 team members with part-time, and opening our 11th store, it's quite mind-blowing. So that's crazy, and really trying to work on development of the team. So my day is obviously lots of different meetings and working within the team. And if I can, I love working in the office with the team. And I spend most of my time with the team. And if I don't have a meeting, I'll be potentially hassling someone or learning or just trying to find out and learn more or sit at a different desk. I mean, we don't have offices, so everyone has, it's an open workspace. No one has an office. No one has a car park. It's, sweep the sheds, which is one of our values. But a typical day is that. And then normally I try to leave by 5:30. Sometimes I get home till about 6, and then I'm straight into dad mode and with the kids. And, whether it's soccer on a Wednesday night for training for Hendrix or, so I'm racing to that, or it's, straight into that dad mode and supporting and trying to be present as a father with the kids, which is always hard because it's so easy. I could just work at any time. Your phone is always on. So I really try to stay present around them and keep my phone on do not disturb so I don't look at it because I'll get sidetracked and next I'll be down a rabbit hole focused on that. So, and my wife will be getting up me. And dinner at the table every night with the kids. We do our highs and lows every night together as a family and high-low buffalo, which I learnt from someone in the team at work, and we do that every night, which is really fun. And then try and get them to bed before 8, but it doesn't normally happen. And so I mean, my day is they're non-stop. And I think the biggest discipline I have within my days is my morning routine. I think that's something that I'm very focused on to make sure I'm, you've got to set yourself up for the day, and I love that. And being a carpenter previously to my to this life, I was up early in the morning, so I've always been an early morning person my entire life since I was a kid. So that I think helps with me getting up early. But and then try and be in bed by 9:30.
Yeah, that's the
that
key.
makes
That's the key. Yeah.
Wait, I'm interested in the parenting element of it, like being the CEO of such a large company, because every day people struggle with trying to be present. Whatever job you work, whether you're the CEO or you're in the warehouse, whatever role it is, everyone has to balance life away from work as well. Reading up a little bit, your family was a big impact on you starting this company in particular. Like I loved, your mum bought the trademark early days, and it sounds like she was a big impact. Did that play a role? Does that play a role into why you see you want to parent in this way? Was that because you were parented in such a way?
It's a good question. I mean, when we changed the company in 2018 to LSKD and all the learnings of finding my why, Hendrix was 6 months old. So I don't really know any better around the brand was stuck on the same. So it was about 5 years. We were stuck on about 3 million a year from about 2014 to maybe 2018, 19. So we were a bit of a dinosaur, to be honest. We were quite slow. And when my son was born, I think, and when the company really started to grow in 2019, I really didn't know any better. And I think, I just wanted to be present as a dad and listening to all these books and learning. And that was played such a big part in it.
You talked about discipline, but when you kind of read online without hearing you talk, if you're just reading literally words on a page and you hear a bit about your story, you hear about your background in action sports, you hear about Loose Kid and all that sort of stuff, and you chat to you about your discipline and all this sort of thing. Have you always been an incredibly driven person, or were you literally that loose kid through your teen years?
Bit of both.
A bit of both.
No, I have. I've always been very disciplined. I've always been focused in what I did, and I look back on that and go, when I was 13 and the name came about in 2002 as a high school nickname, because going back to it, I was riding BMX. It's 2002, I was 13, and I was actually riding with professional BMX athletes that one went on to win X Games 2 years in a row. And, I was inspired by them to be a great BMX athlete. And because my parents couldn't afford to get me into motocross, I was like, well, next step is to ride BMX. And it was just so funny because I was the youngest out of that group, and that's how the name got termed. I was trying to jump this big jump, and I was a little bit loose on a bike, and I couldn't make it. But actually, that moment, I've started to realize that, I was actually so lucky to be surrounded by athletes, and these guys, that they were so focused on, and one of them, Corey, was so focused on being the best and going to America that he wasn't around, I suppose, at that age. He obviously may have started drinking after that, and but that wasn't about that. And I think when you go through your teenage years, you're really trying to find yourself. And because I was surrounded by pro athletes, kind of my entire journey from BMX then to motocross, and I was always at the tracks, and it was such a drive to want to be the best. I think I was just so lucky to get that at a young age.
Yep.
Like it could have sent me down I don't think it would have gone down the wrong path, but seeing that just gave me that drive, and it was and the little things like, I went to schoolies week, when I finished grade 12, and I was 16, I was quite young, 'cause December baby, and I didn't take alcohol. I was
16 on school. He's 16.
Well, yeah, I was December, so
Wow.
December 24. So when I finished school, I was we finished at 17, but I hadn't turned 17 yet. But
right.
but I wasn't planning on drinking. I was like, no, like I'm an athlete, and I stayed with other athletes, and one went on to become a top racer in Australia, and I grew up with him, Dan Reardon, and he did a phenomenal job. Went to America, and so I was just surrounded by this like athlete mentality my entire journey. So I think for me, it was like, when you surround yourself with great people, you're pushed to be better. And I've always just had that drive. And I think I worked at a young age. My parents had a plant nursery, so I grew up working in the family nursery, selling at the markets, going around getting cuttings to repot them and knocking on people's doors and asking them to, can we trim your yard and take those cuttings and repot them. And I grew up working in the nursery from, I don't know what age. I was young. I was, maybe 10, 9, I don't know. But I was young before my first, you're legally allowed to work, but I was working in the family nursery, and I just helped, and, just was grown up around it. So I've always had that drive, but I think until I really found my why, or our why, which, has now been our mission to inspire people to be 1% better, and the values we created, it was really like, that was when it really shifted around, with the journey from loose kid to, LKI in 2007 to 11 years later going to LSKD. Like, it was a long journey, and I was in my 20s. When I started to do it, I was like, actually, I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it because I wanted to I would say make money, but I wanted it as a job so bad that I wanted it to make money so I could have a job and do what I loved. But I was doing it for the wrong reasons, and not realizing that if we did something that created something bigger than ourselves and why we went to work every day, that side takes care of itself. And if you create a product, I suppose a product to market fit for the community you're passionate about, for us, it's fitness within functional fitness communities, and then create a product, we were like, could we do this? And that span of, I'd already been in my job for, I suppose I went full time in 2010 when I finished my apprenticeship. So I was in my early 20s, but that span of doing it full time was like an on-the-job MBA for me. Yeah. And when you think about it, I never went to university, but I just got to learn so much.
Yes.
I was like, wow, I've got all this experience, and even to pre-social media days, and I was in such a vulnerable state, like, which was really good for me to be in. As shitty as it was, and it was fucked. Like, it was so stressful, and the things that we had to go through, but it was the best thing that I ever went through. Being turned down by retailers. Some of our biggest stockers saying, no, we're not stocking you anymore in 2018 and 19. And I'm like, wow, how am I going to, they're 30% of our business. Like, how am I going to make payroll? Like, those things really went, no, let's do this and do it from the start. And when we changed to LSKD in 2018, it was from all the advice from our team, our community, of which logo they liked the best, because we had both. And we had LSKD and LKR logo, and I would ask our team of 12 which one they liked. I would ask the community. I would ask our athletes, and they all loved LSKD. So I was like, there's something in this. Like, let's change it, but not rush it. Like, let's take our time, and which was quite funny because obviously it grew a lot quicker than I ever expected. But I think it was because we were like, let's do it with a reason that, if I go to work and I'm having a tough day, like, let's go back to the why of the mission and why we're doing this and what 1% better means every day, and how do we inspire the community. And if our team comes to work for that reason, and we can invest in them through personal development and books and the learnings we've had. Maybe we can create something really special here that's long-term and it can inspire our community. And I mean, even down to we now share the books online and we actually sell some of them online just for the reason that if they want to buy them, we can help inspire them to be 1% better. So, I think I've always been driven, but I think really until I went through this years and years of learning and I just started to realize, wow, when we changed the brand, I was 31. So, 6 years ago. So I was like, wow, I'm still young. I've just had this, I've got a lot of years ahead of me. And I started to realize reading all these books, a lot of founders are in their late 30s, 40s. Yes. And I'm like, wow, okay, I've just got, you start to think I'm doing something wrong here. And we made so many mistakes. And a lot of it was my fault. I wasn't the best for culture and I had to make a lot of decisions and made a lot of silly decisions. And I wasn't seeking to understand before being understood from our team. And I just do a lot of those things. So I've always been driven. There's a long answer.
No, it's perfect, mate. And it's making me think, I love the element of the word mission in itself, because there's probably so many people that don't have a mission in life in general. And they are probably the ones that are lacking, or they might be suffering from mental health, or there's no real clear direction. What was your mission before what was the original mission before the 1% came about?
So originally in 2018 when we changed, we had this phrase, chase the vibe. So originally it was to inspire people to chase the vibe. And that's what we'd created in 2018. We've only recently changed in the last 12 months to 1% better, which was one of our values, is one of our values. And we thought, why can't this be our mission? There's no reason why. And everyone, the community and the team resonated with that. But Chase the Vibe almost meant that, but we just we were on this journey of still getting clearer. And when I think of my history, I didn't know what a mission and values meant. I tried to create a values for LKI, and I was actually looking at it the other day on a job description. And I was like, wow, were they our values back in 2015? I'm like, I don't even know what they were meaningless. So we had values back then. And I was chuckling with my CFO going, look at this. Wow, I actually wrote values. I'm like, I didn't even know what they meant, so I just, I was young and I wasn't clear. I was like, values can be fun, but what does that mean? How do you make decisions every day? When you're in the heat of it, how do you make a decision for the best interest based off the value? We never did any of that. I didn't, and I was always driven, and I love fitness, and I love sports, and I love I love doing events, and I think having an event to sign up for, like I said before, gives me those goals and gives me that drive. If I've got an event to sign up for, I've got something to work towards, and it's constant. You constantly got to be working towards something to keep you focused. But back then I probably it was that, but I didn't know that, and I hadn't got clear enough. And I think we were talking before around audio book or reading books, and I completed a course called Landmark Forum in 2015. And that was kind of the start of my personal development journey. And it was a crazy, crazy course. And it was really tough, but it was the most rewarding course I've ever done. And then a few years later, I ended up starting to read books. And that's, I think, was the biggest unlock for me, and just going, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that was a really big help to learning books and actually question and wonder, okay, why am I doing that? Why am I doing this? Could we shape this if I have a conversation with someone? So I didn't know back then what it was. So it sounds really clear now, but man, I was, I just loved fitness, and I loved being a part of things and being a part of the community.
On that too, the reason why I probably brought that up on a deeper level was there's so many brands out there, small, big, medium-sized brands, or people, even people want to create a brand. So whether it's someone new wants to create a clothing line, and say in 3 years' time, it's, oh no, we've given up on it, I've had enough. Do you feel like that is because you had such clear vision on what your mission was? That's why it's done so well, and why other brands maybe not so much, because their mission might not be clear enough? I know you can't comment on other people, but
no. Well, I mean, it's a great question, right? Because you can have a mission and still not succeed because you need the right product for the community, and what community do you want to be a part of? I mean, I look back in the last kind of 20 years and go, wow, really from 2007 to now, I've been going hard, and I'm still. I feel like my career is only just starting, which is quite crazy and exciting. But I think like, I think what I learned, and I got to see this in the early days when we started, and we were really, really involved with the action sports community, and still a part of that as well, that there was a lot of brands back then that started too, I noticed, and we still have our original headquarters, that we do tours, and we're going to turn into a bit of a museum with all the original stuff down to like the sticker printer we had, which is super cool. And I was reading a magazine the other day going, wow, there was like 10 other brands out there at those times when we were coming through. And I think there's trends that come, and I think what I learned is people just want to do it to do it. But I think I didn't know why I was doing it. I just loved it, and I just loved being a part of it. But I think it's some brands make it and some don't, and it's a really good question. But I think you've got to do it for the right reasons. I think if it's just to have a brand, then there's what's the why behind it? Like, and yes, a brand needs to be profitable to make money, but there's so much more to that if you want to create a legacy for the next 50 years, because that side will take care of itself. And I think it's the whole 10,000 hour rule. Like I was kind of looking back, going, it was 2018, and
what is that rule? What is that rule? The 10,000 hour rule?
Wasn't it like if you do 10,000, it's like
to become like a
successful in
a
something,
pro or master,
expert.
You got to do 10,000 hours.
That's the word.
Yeah,
10,000
okay.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and I look back, it was 2018. I remember driving to work, going, why am I doing this? Like, do I go back to being a carpenter or not? Like, because it wasn't. There was weeks I couldn't pay myself. Like, it was, my son was on the way, and I was like, wow, like if it wasn't for my wife, like, she had a secure job, I didn't. She'd done a great job and working for the government. And I was like, actually, but I do like doing this. I do like doing this every day. Like, why do I like doing it? So, and then I was like, hang on, I've just had all this time with, learning about other brands over 10 years within all different industries, driving to retailers to sell wholesale, because we're predominantly a wholesale business. And I just got to see everything, and I almost got to see an evolution of brands. And I, got to travel to suppliers and go to China, and, when I was in my early 20s, and build relationships. So I was like, wow, I've got all this experience. Okay, cool. Like, and I kind of didn't back myself. I was, it's easiest to say it now, but back then I was like, I'm not good enough to build a great brand. And I think when you read all these books and these founder stories, you realize a lot of these founders made so many mistakes to get to where and they were so scrappy. And I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, maybe I could achieve this, and we could build, one of the biggest brands, in the world to come out of Logan, and stay true to who we are, and create great careers and global careers for our team. And like, I was like, yeah, maybe we can do that. And I just started sharing with the team, going, what if we could do this? Is it possible? And I'm a bit of, I am a galvanizer. I do love that. Like, so I was like, and if the team was on board, then I was on board, and let's go. So yeah, it was just it was such a moment in time that wasn't that long ago. Like, it was so not that long ago. It feels so, for me, I'm just grateful, like, that what we've done. And to be honest, the focus is more real than ever. And it's, it's not harder. Well, you could say it is sometimes, because you've just got to be focused. Like, and you're a pro athlete coming to work every day, and you've got to be there for the team, and you got to be on, and for them, because you're in the heat of it every single day, and it's not perfect. We are making mistakes, and we're learning, and we're working through things as a team, and and I kind of love that stuff. Like, it's the fun part, right? Like, it's hard, but it's the fun part.
This episode of the dos&d show with Jason Daniel is brought to you by our good friends at Fleet Plan Hire Solutions.
If you haven't heard of LSKD, they're probably the biggest, if not one of the biggest, clothing brands in Australia.
Absolutely.
And if you haven't heard of Fleet Plan Hire Solutions, you're living under a bloody rock as well. They are one of the biggest earth-moving equipment companies in Australia.
It makes sense. We have such a big episode with such a big brand to be partnered by the biggest earth-moving equipment company in the country.
How lucky are we?
We're so lucky. So if you want more information, head to www.fph.com.au. Speak to Chris and the team now. There's an old saying, and they say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success, where, we don't see the hard work and the hours you put in, but suddenly this brand pops up, or this musician comes out, or this athlete appears out of nowhere, and it's just like overnight they're the biggest thing on the planet. At the moment, you can't go anywhere without seeing LSKD. Like I said to you, it's like it feels like, hearing you speak, it feels like it's just been so big for so long. We haven't obviously been in it, but just because of the exposure, you see so many, famous people or celebrities wearing it. At the Australian Open, there was athletes wearing it. Like, it's crazy. But there must have been a time where you felt momentum had shifted to being maybe a smaller brand or a struggling brand, or we're getting there, to being a bit more established. Do you remember a specific point where it almost turned in your mind?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I do. It was 2019. Is when it turned, and we launched our rep legging. We'd spent about 18 months developing that product, and the fabric and the fit and the function, listening to the community, and that we dropped that in mid 2019. I mean, that one product has over 10,000 reviews online. It's
Wow.
it's phenomenal, and it's so cool to see. And I think that was the turning point, because we actually developed that product from a community feedback perspective instead of what the retailer wanted. And I think once we got clear, and I'd got quite a lot of no's from retailers, and quite a lot of, I was quite disheartened from retailers in that early stages. But I was like, you know what, it doesn't matter. Like, we're going to do this with a purpose. I think that was the tipping point for me.
Yep.
And that's when it really started to shift. It was about mid 2019, and so we were not far off a year into LSKD shift. But we were also like, let's just take our time and let's become profitable.
Yeah.
Because we pretty much weren't profitable in 2018. I was like, and meeting my CFO, and I met him in August 2018, and we changed the brand in September 2018.
Wow.
He came on a day a week, and we had a government grant that helped pay for half, so that chipped in 20 grand, and he even helped me fill out the forms. And he's full time now, but it was quite a few years he was part time, and he's like the person I talk to every day, and he was on his journey looking for his why, and we just went on this book journey together, and it was just this whole thing going, wow, if I can get people on the journey with me, reading books and learning, and I just started to see this shift slowly.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I think that was when. But I mean, I had that same feeling back in. Well, I didn't, but I did in LKI days, but it was
Yeah.
a different feeling.
Sure.
Because I was just clear around, we dropped so many products off and said, let's not make them. We might annoy some of the community, which isn't good, but also for long term, we may not be here with LKI.
Yeah.
If we don't do this. And the cool thing is being able to see the community from that wore LKI come on the journey with us.
Yes.
I think that's been the most rewarding, because you could change your brand and completely forget about your community, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. And they really came on the journey. And I mean, we just launched a jacket that celebrated, 20 plus years in the making with all the logos, and we made 300. Each one was numbered.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we launched it on Sunday night. It was just cool, like, to pay homage to how far we've come, and be grateful. Without the community, we wouldn't be here. So, but it was mid 2019, I think, was when it really, but every year you get a different feeling, I think, as you're going through, because you're just getting, we're getting 1% better as well. Like, and that's our focus internally. So, we can see we're constantly getting better from the community, the learnings we get, how do we improve product, how do we improve our fabric, how do, if we make a mistake, how do we own it and learn and keep getting better. So every year it changed, like it just slowly gets better when you get clearer. But yeah, that was probably the biggest one in 2019.
Hearing you say, but like the relationship between you and your wife just sounds incredibly strong. And when you were just sharing about, you not paying yourself for a week here and a week there, or I don't know if it was months. By the sounds of it, you guys, the clear communication, she believed in your mission and saw it within you, because that's probably nearly one of the most important parts of being successful in business, is finding a partner or a wife that actually believes in you.
Yeah.
And you can communicate clearly with when things are going on in business.
Yeah.
Can you maybe touch on your relationship, especially in those moments? Because that's not easy.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We got together when we were 18. So we were so young, it's an interesting one. I mean, she just got to come on the journey even before I'd put effort into the brand. We got together in 2005. So yeah, it was such a journey we went on, and it didn't feel like that at the time. So yeah, it was quite unique. But yeah, it was cool.
But she wasn't like, because I'm thinking that there might be a point where you've been working on the brand for, a few years. It's still not really profitable or making as much money, and she's working the government job.
Yeah.
And
I think
someone else
honestly, she just backed me.
Yeah.
The whole way along. I don't think she ever thought it wasn't going to work. That's the crazy part. Like,
she never said, go get a job. It was
nah.
like,
maybe I was galvanizing too much. I don't know. I'm glad it worked.
yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, she just backed me, and she was such a legend. And we just went on the journey together. And we were so young. We were evolving together. But yeah, she was a part of it the whole time in terms of like the learnings and the struggles, and still is. And it's not perfect. Like we constantly working through, especially with how busy. And she plays a huge part and looks after payroll. And so it's just one of those things where I've never thought about it like that, in terms of like, because we've just always been together, and we've always just backed each other, and we've worked through those times and have those conversations, and the struggles with my family, and we just work through it. And yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Like we've always just, she came back when we met when we were 18. We she was having fun partying and I was out racing motocross. I'm like, you should come to the motocross races. So she kind of like come on the journey with me.
So we're going to talk about the successes and where you're going and what the plans for the future is. But before then, back in those days when you were still in the building phase, do you remember a time when you're talking about Instagram and social media, when a particular product just started going nuts, like selling? Like, I don't know how the system is or was back then, if you get, even back then when it was a bit smaller, if you get notified for every sale or how it gets processed. But do you remember a time when you just go, shit, this is going, it's working, something's going right?
Yeah, I mean, depends which part of my journey.
Yeah, true.
LKI or LSKD?
Well,
like it's, do you mean like earlier, like when we were
yeah,
at
maybe
LKI?
maybe LKI. Yeah.
Look, if I'm honest, I wasn't the best at reading data.
Yeah.
I was good at reading data and understanding trends and knew where we were going, but I was so busy making so many different products, I never let anything get time.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And when you're anyone that may be listening to this that has within what wholesale is, a wholesale business, and when you're doing indent, you're essentially designing a range 12 to 13 months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
You sell the range in, so you haven't really saw what you sold the season before. You sell the range to a retailer about 7-8 months out. So you go on the road and sell the ranges to the different retailers, some major retailers, to independent retailers that could be in regional communities. That not as many now.
So are you knocking on doors at this?
You're knocking on doors,
Wow.
right? And you got a relationship with them, and you'll wheel a rack of product in, and you'll go and sell the range, and a buyer will look at these ranges, and they will buy off that range.
Okay.
So, and then there's likes of, I suppose, there's so many different stores that do that. I mean, Rebel Sports is one. They stock a lot of brands. We were never in Rebel, but that's from a one that's quite large that stock brands. So you would go and sell the ranges from a one-door store to we had one that had 60 stores. And they would pick off that range of what they wanted to buy, and then you would add and collate all those ranges, and then you would place those orders. And normally you would get a consistency of something that sold the year before and you couldn't really innovate for the community because you just wanted the same thing that sold. So you were kind of at mercy of what they wanted to buy, not where you really were listening to what your community wanted. So back then you were doing products like we were trying new things and going, okay, this one could be it. This one could be it. I think probably the time it was quite cool is when we got into some major retailers. One was a 60-door retailer, and I was like, wow. And they were placing like 1,000-unit orders of a product, and we were like, whoa.
Do you remember that day when where the deal went through?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it was crazy. So it was I won't name the retailer, but it was a 60-door retailer, and they played a huge part in our journey, to be honest. We were in there for nearly 8-9 years, and it got to the point, like it was such a good learning experience. And my first meeting with that retailer, I got stood up.
Really?
So I showed up, and I was shitting myself. I was so nervous with this catalog, and I'm in my early 20s, and I'm showing this retailer, getting ready, and I actually got stood up by the buyer, and he didn't show up, and I was like, "You're joking." And so I left, and I was like, "You know what? I'm not going to force it. I'll just post catalogs." And then after that, and I know this person, funny enough, he's helped us after, and he's like, "I'm so sorry," and I was giving him this shit about it, but and what happened that moment, and then I started just posting a seasonal catalog to them. I was like, you know what? I'll get in there one day. It's just not a no, but when's the when, right?
Yep.
And a new buyer came in, and I ended up sending this one catalog, and I still remember it. Like, that person emailed me, Nick, and I still know him to this day. He's a legend. He lives in New Zealand with another brand, and he called me, and he was like, I want to buy it. I think it was the Crest tee, and he's like, I want to try it. I think it was 300 or 400 units, and it was a huge deal for us.
Yeah.
To get into this retailer, and that was probably a moment where I was like, "Yeah, we're on here." I'm in my early 20s. We got into one of the biggest retailers in Australia in our space, and I'm like, "We're on. Like, this is epic." And to be honest, I almost got stuck in that world of like, "Yep, we're killing it. We're doing a great job. Like, we're doing this."
Yeah.
And I think what I learned is like, there's always another level. I almost got stuck in that phase of growth, going, "We're doing such a good job," where it's like, "No, you can always be better." Power of learning and reading books and making lots of mistakes. But that was a moment that I thought here. And then I built a great relationship with that buyer, and then all the other buyers, and and still know some of them to this day. And that moment of getting into that retailer was such a power, I was so stoked. And then funny enough, when we moved into our new office, I decided to put signage out the front of our new office, and we were down a bit of a back street in Yatala. And I was like, I'm putting signage up. And someone said, just be careful, you'll get broken into. And I was like, no, it's fine.
Oh, no.
I put the branding up. We got broken into 3 times in like 15 months.
No.
Yeah, so it was like 2011 or 12, and we got done three times in a matter of maybe 15 months. I mean, at night I couldn't sleep. I was like, I had to put my phone on flight mode just so I could go to sleep because I was so stressed. The alarm system was going to go off. It wasn't a fun time. So we ended up pulling all the signage off. But the first time we got broken into, they drove through our warehouse doors, and when they drove through them, they peeled the door open. They drove through the bollards, so these bollards just didn't do anything, and and they stole 300 units. I'm pretty sure of this one jumper that was going to this retailer, and it was a huge order. And 300 units, it's a big order for us then, and so we didn't get paid. They stole 300 of the 600 unit order, and then they were selling them for $15 at the train station. The next day, we found out from the police, and then Ali and myself had to sleep in the van essentially out the front that night because our whole warehouse door was peeled open.
Oh my God!
It was crazy. I mean, it was like, I think it was like 2011 when that happened. So we went through journeys all the way along, like stuff like that. But so there was good moments getting in there, and then you're like, oh my God, this massive order just got stolen. What do I do? Those things happened all the time, but through your journey. But that was kind of getting the good, and then we lost an order to them, and I had to call them and say, look, I'm sorry, like we can't ship half this order. Can you still accept it? Because sometimes they won't if you can't ship the whole order. So I think they did. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, the hardships are real, aren't they, when it comes to business?
Yeah, I mean, it's just normal, right? You just learn to, as you learn, you just got to deal with them in a way that, they're opportunities, because they happen all the time in certain areas and everyone goes through that in their journey. It's not just me, like everyone in the team has, in anyone's career, and it's like, how do you turn them into opportunities and control the controllables, I suppose. Like that's how you've got to think, because you've just got to keep moving forward.
How has it been, the lifestyle that you must live now compared to when you started? It's, I don't know whether it's you pinch yourself, whether it's the people you get to connect with now, the size of the company, what it provides your family financially. It must be, I'm not going to ask how much is in your bank account, but it must be nice having to now be secure and that you and your family are okay, at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we're self-funded, and we invest a lot. We invest a lot back into the brand because we truly believe we've got something special. But yeah, it's different, but also you don't really have time to think about it in any aspect. And I certainly haven't made it in any way. I don't think. Like, I've got a long way to go in my journey and my career, and to be fully, if you say financially free, like, I truly believe we're early days into this journey. Yes, we've grown a lot, but you've got to be on. You've got to be on your A game. We're just getting started. Like, it's on. But yeah, it is. I mean, I'm very grateful. In that aspect. Being, just knowing I can put my kids through school and that just the little things. I think you do have to be grateful, and when you're in the thick of it. But I haven't really thought about that. I mean, one day that and I always think about the times if like, oh wow, what would I do if I retired? I don't know if I could retire. Like, when you love something so much, it doesn't mean that I'm a big believer in developing future CEOs within the business. Because I may not be that forever, but I love being a part of something. It's not so much of the control side of it, but I love being a part of something, and I genuinely love being a part of it with the team, and that's that gives me the most joy, being a part of it and solving problems together and through it, and we're growing and hearing the feedback from the community and lives who've changed because they've worn our product and lost 20 kilos in LSKD. And I'm like, man, that is like the ultimate, the coolest. Or they've done a fitness goal that they never thought they'd do, and they're repping LSKD. I'm like, that's why we do it every day. Like, it's not, that side is like a byproduct, but for me, I haven't had time to think about it. You're like, we're just in the middle of this. We got a lot of work to do, and I don't think it'll ever change. But it's.
I think I asked that. I asked that when I think about the younger business owner yourself, because hearing you say you didn't get paid, like, and now you're able to.
Yeah,
you're where you're at. I mean, you can go to the servo and not worry about the price of petrol. Like, it's. I'm not saying I don't know you personally financially, but you've come so far. Like,
yeah,
to
I
get
mean,
to
yeah,
where you
look,
are.
in that aspect, I'm very grateful. Like
Yeah.
I am, definitely. Like it's it is different in that aspect, but you know, yeah, it is. It is. I'm grateful for that. That's for sure.
You
I haven't thought about it in that way too much, but I am.
Yeah.
I am. I think like compared to where we were, you know, I think it was 2018, and I was paying myself 75,000 a year, and you know, I had team members I was paying more because I knew that, you know, that's what you do. You know, you pay yourself as less as you can, and you know. So yeah, it is. I'm very grateful.
You used the word repping before, so I'm interested. And you obviously at LSKD you put a lot of time into athletes too, which is really, really cool. So who are some of the more famous people that have repped LSKD? Almost pinch yourself that this person's wearing our stuff.
Oh,
Because we had a quick Google and a few names popped up.
I've got them here, actually.
You've got them
I've got
there.
a couple here.
oh dear.
ZAC EFRON was one.
ZAC EFRON was one. Hilary Duff was another.
Hailey Bieber.
Hailey Bieber as well.
Yeah, some of those
It'd be
names.
cool to meet them. Wouldn't
Yeah.
it? I haven't met them. Yeah, I mean,
How does that news come through? Did somebody flick your photo and go, "Hey," or how did And it must be an unbelievable feeling that.
Yeah.
And have you noticed when somebody like that does wear it, is there a flow-on effect in terms of sales? Or
yes
not?
and no.
Yeah. Okay.
I think like it depends. Some instances, no, it's just great media retention.
Yep.
If I'm honest, depends how you use the content. If you're going to remarket it, etc. There's a lot of other ways to, you know, whether it's through socials and ads, etc. But I suppose we're so focused on community, on athletes, and inspiring. I suppose when I see that stuff, I'm like, man, that is so cool. But stay focused on the long term of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one when ZAC EFRON wore it was really cool because he wore it on that series, and I actually got to speak to his brother because he really wanted to wear LSKD. He had had an opportunity to wear two brands, and he picked us over them, and that was in like 2021.
I've read about that. So yeah. So what? Yeah. Tell us a bit more about that story.
We actually had a creator, Jeremiah, that we worked with, and I was a big fan of him. And we worked with him. He was based in California, and he was been wearing the brand since 2019. And he just sent me a text and said, "Hey, Zach wants to rep, like potentially wear the brand on the series while he's in Australia. Can I connect you with his brother?" And I was like, oh, "Yeah, that's cool." Like, and so I was like, "Oh, this probably won't happen." Like, whatever, you know, you don't get your hopes up, and then next minute I'm chatting to his brother, Dylan, and he was a legend. And I think it was out of the 40-minute call, I probably talked to him for 30 minutes about Ironmans and triathlons because he does them, and I was like asking him questions because I was so interested in just training and how he did them, and he was so into Ironmans, and I have a goal to do one and in the future, and then the last 10 minutes he just said I want to, he's, you know, this is what he wants to do and the plans, and this is what he's picked, and I was like, yep, you can take it all. This is great. And then I think it was like a year and a half later the series got released, so it was during COVID they filmed it, and then it came out after the fact.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you see an uptick in sales. I think it's a million things you do as a brand that snowballs and the flywheel spins. But yeah, I mean, I get a lot of like inspiration from like, you know, the everyday athletes and athletes achieving things in the communities they build. I mean, I love that stuff. Like I love seeing people achieve things within sports and what they're doing, and, you know, whether they're trying to achieve a goal in a run or their fitness goal, or like, I love that stuff because I know being a part of it.
Yes.
And having athletes, I mean, you're about to chat to Bree. You know, knowing Bree is a part of the team in PR, but also as a pro athlete and has just made the Olympics. Like, that stuff's super cool to me. Like, you know, and we chat almost every second day because she helps with PR. And that's the coolest thing, supporting athletes in their journey and where they can go in their future post being an athlete, I think is really important for me and our team, and where I see LSKD being able to support as well. So, yeah, I get excited about that stuff.
It's cool.
You sound like you put such a large emphasis on team, like your team, and you put everyone else ahead of yourself. How involved are you in the recruitment aspect in the company?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, very involved. As I said before, I was in an interview just before.
Yeah.
Catching up with someone. So yeah, I mean, heavily involved. Like, I would love to meet everybody. And you know, the way we recruit and how we recruit. You know, yeah, massively.
Because
involved.
a lot of probably big CEOs, well, a lot of CEOs probably would rather palm those things off, you know, at times. But you just seem like so involved in every bit of the business.
Yeah, I do like to. I'm not involved in everything. Like, we have a great team that do, like, there's so many aspects from, you know, operationally, the DC that we've built and how, we do all our fulfillment, here in Australia, and we've, built that from nothing. Essentially we were picking orders off a sheet of paper in 2019 to now it's all automated, with the team and how, like, I haven't been as involved in that stuff. So I would I was involved, but not at a day-to-day level, but like working and learning and being a part of it, and understanding, I love. I mean, you have to be, I think, like, you're not doing anyone's job, but you're a part of it and learning. And can you find areas that things are going wrong, or how can you help support? You can't be everywhere. And how do you focus on, I suppose, the most important things, or where you can support? And I don't know everything. So, but yeah, I do. I love being a part of it. It's trying to get anyone's way all the time, but I do. I genuinely like being a part of it.
Are you good at letting go of things and delegating, or is it?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because a lot of people we struggle with this massively in what we do, of delegating and letting go, because it's our baby. We want control over everything. How do you go with that?
I think I do. Team might say something different. I don't know. No, I think I do. I mean, sometimes I probably need to give them more time, because there is so many things happening on a day to day. In different meetings I might be sitting in, whether it's through retail and we're looking at locations, or, to product and spending time on the product direction, or what we're doing with marketing. So there's so many aspects, but yeah, I do. I mean, I like to nurture and if a team member makes a mistake, like, it's a great learning.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's, if you're humble enough to own that mistake, you're going to learn from it, and then you're going to share it with the rest of the team, that mistake. So the goal is to not make it again, and we'll get better. So, I think I do. Like, I like to think you have to ask some of the team, to be honest. So I can't answer that.
We'll ask Bree shortly.
Yeah, ask her.
Creatively, like, you have to be on your ball as well. Like, the world's like constantly evolving and changing, and the market is changing all the time. And how does an idea come about? A new idea? Is it something else in the marketplace that you might see and you go, shit, we could do that better? Do you have certain people in your team that are always coming up with new ideas and fresh content? What's your creative, I guess, what would you say, regime?
It's a great question. I mean, we have a lot of core fabrics. So we developed our rep fabric, which makes, our, fusion, rep legging, base, flux. We have our Zephyr fabric, which makes elixir. So we have a lot of our core fabrics that we've developed from the ground up and spent a lot of time with feedback. So we really use our core products to then, build trust with our community and then create new styles from there with a core fabric base. So we spent a lot of time on that. And, we recently launched Aeroflex. I traveled overseas for that with the team. We worked on that since October 2022. So it's quite a while ago, and spent a lot of time on this fabric, and we only launched it in March. But we know that fabric from and getting feedback from athletes in the community and how we created this new fabric, what the fundamentals of that is really important for long term. So creativity, I mean, you got to be like, I do travel a fair bit to different events, retail, different things all the time to be learning and just and trying to sweat in different communities and be a part of it. It is hard, but a lot of our team do. So I'm always trying to learn from them as well. So yeah, I mean, creatively, we have a creative team. I mean, they're amazing. Our design and product team and our entire product team are phenomenal. And even down to, our creative director, Dill, like, he joined us in 2011, and it's a funny story. He left us for 18 months because I was a bit of an idiot. And then I said, do you want to come back? So, he's played a huge part in the journey, and he actually designed the LSKD logo. So, he's was literally just working with him before, on things. So, he's played a massive part in the creative journey of the brand and works with the team. So, yeah, you do. You have to be, but you got to listen to your community, and there's lots of other things you have to do. But yeah, you've got to. We try and build long-term core styles for our community, and then really focus on the fabrics for them.
Should we jump into golf box?
I think it's time for golf box.
All right.
So we spoke to you, Jason, a little bit about golf box, and we'll just hide that for a second. Dos will do the ad read in a second, but we'll get that golf box just in front of you, if you don't mind, for the second, and we'll explain the game and the rules shortly.
I'm a bit nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Mate. So, Jace, what's in the golf box is brought to you by Golf Box, Australia's greatest golf superstore. If you need it, they have it, and it gets to you fast and free. Head to golfbox.com.au. Off air, you told us you love your golf, didn't you?
Yep. Look, my brother is my brother Nick is epic at golf. He loves it. So
he'll be jealous.
We may
I'm
as
not
well-
very good at golf.
We may as well start a new hobby for Jason. So as you can see,
I like it. I'm just not very good at it.
well, hopefully we might be able to help you.
You guys might break into the golf market before you know it. Who knows?
One day.
Who knows? Who knows? We'll talk about the future shortly. But the golf box itself, as you can see, it's our humble little box. Inside there's a bunch of questions or challenges. Nothing too scary. All you have to do is pick one out, read it to us, complete that challenge or question, and then there will be a little reward for you. So, Jason Daniel, what's in the golf box?
Great. Feels like there's one thing in here. No,
Yeah. I hope he pulls out the backflip off the table.
Yeah.
What's one moment you knew you stuffed up?
Ooh.
Oh, I have one that was a pretty pinnacle moment for us. In 2015, we were on Magento as an e-com platform, and I wanted to bring this person in-house, and I said, let's leave our agency and bring this person on to develop our website. He spent months developing it. We launched the website. You couldn't check out.
Oh, no.
Magento's a little tough there, and he really messed this whole thing up. And our sales cut in half for like 5 months in 2015. It was a low. It was like the sales weren't crazy back then, but still a lot what we needed. And sales cut in half, and I'm freaking out. And I was like, the team said I shouldn't have done that. And I was like, yep, I've made a mistake. And it was a really humbling moment. And then we ended up going back to our agency, and they ended up building us on Shopify within a month so we could launch by November to be ready for Christmas in 2015. But it was huge. I mean, it cost us, it was hundreds, like it was over $100,000 mistake, and very stressful. And I got told not to do it. And it was a very humbling moment, and that was, I suppose, that was the part of the journey I went on, because I would just make decisions thinking that I had to know everything, and I didn't look at the details enough, and I should have listened to the team and then done what they said. And I was like, no, give this person a try. They're pretty cool. And
were you friends with them, or like?
I knew that person.
Okay, yeah,
I knew that person through Action Sports, and it just wasn't up. The skill set wasn't there, and it was a big learning curve.
A very expensive one.
Yeah,
very that's the most expensive one we've heard from the golf box.
Yeah,
so that hurts. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. We've got a little prize pack for you shortly.
Oh, thanks.
Before we let you go, though, you talked to us off air a little bit about the expansion into America and San Diego.
Yes.
What is next for LSKD? What is kind of your plans over the next, probably more short term? Where the areas you guys are looking at in particular? Where do you want to see growth? Do you have any big aspirations or?
We have huge goals, but I mean, right now, we are opening another 5 more stores this year.
Wow.
With one being in New Zealand, which is really exciting. So we're really starting to build the New Zealand community. So that's a big focus, is Australia and New Zealand, but we also have our office in San Diego, and we have a great team over there, and we're really building the brand over there locally in San Diego. And I mean, huge aspirations, but being Australian brand moving over there, we've really got to build the brand grassroots and make sure we stand for something with our mission over there. So learn about product and lots of little things. But yeah, Australia and New Zealand is such a big focus to build the community and grow long term. But yeah, there's lots. But yeah, and America is such a big goal. But we got our little office in San Diego, and the team's doing a great job building the community there.
It's pretty cool to think you still just have you just saying, yeah, we've got a little office in San Diego. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is crazy, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
great.
that's.
that's an insane market to break into, but it's incredible what you guys are doing there. Like,
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's really cool. And I was saying before, one of our team, Keith, our COO, he moves over there soon. He's going to live over there for 6 months and work with the team and support them. And so, yeah, we're very committed. And, they're doing an amazing job. But, Keith, he played a huge part in our journey here and helped us set a lot of things up, things I couldn't do, I wasn't very good at. And so he's going over there to help the team. And, yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's lots to do. And, and really just make sure we stand for something, which is our mission and our values, and bring that every day. So
that's been crystal clear today.
Just coming now to a close, maybe the last one is someone out there, maybe someone 19, thinks they want to start a business, whether that be an e-com or apparel or, a service-based business, whatever it is. They just want to start something. What advice do you have if you were to go back to your younger self or speaking to someone else of that age? What would you say? What would you love to share with them?
Be a couple of things. One would be to learn, like really read and learn, and another thing was like you've got time. You know, I think like at the same time, like learn at the role you're in and get better and better and learn and grow. Like I think, you know, sometimes you want to be somewhere overnight, but that doesn't mean it's going to make you enjoy that. If you're looking to be in a certain role, and if you wanted to start something, do something you're passionate about. I mean, I think that's what I started to realize. I really love what I did, but I didn't know why. And I think that was creating something around that was really important. But I think it's like you don't know what you don't know. Just constantly learn, and it's okay to make mistakes. We've made plenty of them, and we still do. You know, like I think that's the thing. I think you need sometimes to feel like you need to be perfect, and you don't. It's okay because that's how you get better. That's how you learn. So, yeah,
Love that.
What's that? You mentioned books and to read. What? Maybe just one. What's your favorite like autobiography? I don't know if you read them, but do you have a business autobiography?
Oh,
Give us a recommendation.
I think everyone may know Shoe Dog. I mean, that's such a great book. I've read that one and I listened to it quite a few times. I'm a big fan of that book.
That's a good one.
That's one book I started to read but didn't finish.
Have you Richard Branson's? Have you read his? It's my favorite.
He probably has a few, doesn't he?
Maybe a while ago.
The main, I think it's called.
Which one?
It's got a play on words, of course, with Virgin.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you, but it's
Send it to me.
it's unbelievable. I highly recommend. But let's go through the prize pack for
You
you
take
want
us
me to
through
go?
it. Yeah,
All right.
why
So
not?
firstly, our good friends at Golf Box Australia, they're sending you home with a $250 Golf Box voucher. So fast and free too,
legends.
Dos, isn't it?
Yeah, very fast.
And then our major partner, Fleet Plant Hire Solutions, who are an earth moving
The
company.
biggest earth moving equipment company in Melbourne.
Absolutely.
Which is amazing.
Huge. Now, they're huge into their golf as well. So they're sending you home with a golf glove, a couple pairs of golf socks, different colours. Maybe we can get some LSKD,
Custom.
over the top of it. Golf balls, golf tees, golf glove.
Golf glove as well.
Golf towel, so plenty of that. And then
That's
Dodge.
epic.
Do you want to maybe talk a bit about Dodge?
Do you have the ad for Dodge,
There you
actually?
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dodge, they've only just come on with us recently. You were telling us off air that you haven't had a big night in a while, actually. A few years, by the sounds of it. So
Yeah,
you
not
probably
very
won't be using it. But if you're looking for a way to dodge rough mornings, just make Dodge your last drink of the night. Scientifically formulated in partnership with Monash University. A can of Dodge contains 100% natural ingredients that helps your body metabolize alcohol, allowing you to have a big night but still take on the next day. Pick up a case of Dodge at your local bottle shop today. I've tried this and it works.
That's good. Yeah, you tried it. Had a big week at the footy club and did very well for him. So we'll send you home with some Dodge as well. But
Thank you,
mate. Thank you so much. It's
No.
an honour to meet you, and you're clearly such a humble guy, very team orientated. And yeah, it meant a lot to us. So thank you so much.
No, thanks, boys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.